Good afternoon, everyone. Can I have your attention to a very, very important conversation that we're going to have today? And it's about waste and how we cities can be much more smart when it comes to resources and especially when it comes to waste management. And therefore, I would love to introduce my fantastic panelists. Yeah, let me start with Janine. She's the CEO of Sustainable Seas. She comes from South Africa, and I must say what most struck out to me about her is like really that she wants to create awareness when it comes to waste and making sure that it does not end up in the seas, right? And maybe just as a fun fact about her, she loves singing and baking. It makes her like grounded and also shows her like it's important to be also always very spontaneous and fixing stuff and so on. So it seems you don't go by recipe, right? So and then we have Eva, and she is the global head of sustainability and compliance at FCC Enviro. And it's very inspiring talking to her because she loves indeed the topic waste. Yeah, we will also hear more about that later. But so she really proves that even the biggest systems can really think circular. Yeah, you're proving it. And in regards to your fun fact, let me just see my fantastic writing. So when it comes to you, it's about, oh, didn't I write it down? Yes, I did. I know it. It was about music, and she hates reggaeton. So if you don't like what she says, just put up reggaeton and she will leave the stage, right?
Yes. That's my kryptonite.
Yeah. And then we have Cecilia. She's from Bentley Systems, and she's a strategic water industry solution expert. And she really helps connect everything around data, water, and making really a whole solution out of it for cities, which is really exciting. And when I ask her a fun fact about herself, it feels like you dream water, you talk water, like everything that has to do something with water, that's you, right? So water is like absolutely her passion. And then we have Grigoris. He's the mayor of, if I'm not going to pronounce that right, you go.
The city of Vari Voula Vouliagmeni.
It was good that I handed over the microphone, right? So from Greece. And so what is really impressing here is like he's not just a politician like talking about solutions, but he's really implementing them. So we have here a mayor that really actions on it, which is amazing. And the fun fact about him, and it's something that we discovered then also together, so because I'm coming from Lufthansa a very, very long time ago, and he is not just a mayor, he also flies, he's a pilot. And it's not that he stopped being a pilot, no, he's continuing being it. So, no, you cannot stop. Addicted, all right. And a fun fact in addition to that is that he said, like, if you look at pilots, they have accountability at high accountability and checklists. And that's what he also introduces as a mayor. And yeah, so thank you very much having you on the panel. Sure. So just a short information. It might happen that I run off the stage. I have a bloody nose, and I'm not kidding. So just don't be surprised in that case that should happen. It's a weird thing, I get it. You take over, perfect. See, accountability, amazing. So let's go to the topic. It's a really important topic when it comes to waste and how we want to be smart in the city when it comes to resources. And I have a very important question to each of you, which I would love to hear from you. It's about which was like the moment or which like changed your view on waste management and you decided that you want to act on it. And I would love to have the slides, please. Oh, I didn't get the... Thank you.
So this is our African reality. And through my work at Sustainable Seas Trust, and we are operational now in 32 of the 54 African states, I've traveled quite widely across the continent. And so I've seen firsthand how waste has shaped daily lives and lived realities in Africa. And moving through these realities, I've seen the plastic that ends up in our oceans and on our lands, and much of it is not even produced in Africa. A lot of it comes from the global north, to be honest. But at the same time, I've seen remarkable innovation and ingenuity that has come from my African people, and especially in South Africa, where, for example, PET bottle-to-bottle recycling has been initiated. And we now recycle plastic bottles right back into plastic bottles, which means that the plastic bottles that are collected in South Africa are recycled in South Africa, and there's beneficiation that happens in the local communities in South Africa, to the point that we recycle 67% of the PET bottles that are produced in South Africa, which rivals what's happening in the States. It rivals what's happening in Europe, and we have created that in South Africa. And yet the paradox remains. Africa is the second most polluted continent in the world, but we have the lowest per capita consumption of plastic in the world. And the cost of marine waste and pollution is counted not only in millions of dollars, but in the health of our ecosystems and our people. And as our cities expand and they urbanize at breakneck speeds, the need for effective inclusive waste systems is critical. And so at Sustainable Seas Trust, we believe that real change can only happen when every stakeholder in the value chain not only understands the role that they need to play in sustainable waste management, but fully embraces it. And we believe that will then lead to a responsible and sustainable waste management system in the long term.
Thank you very much, Janine. I would love to hand over to Eva with the same question, like what was the moment? And I know it already, I loved it. So please share it with us.
Okay. Well, when I started as a quality and environment...
Excuse me. Next slide,
yeah,
please.
the next slide. No.
You can go.
Shall I start? Okay. Well, when I started working as an environmental and quality management systems auditor at the Spanish branch of FCC Enviro, in FCC Medio Ambiente, I visited many contracts, many waste management contracts, many waste treatment plants. But what surprised me the most were the landfills, where when all the waste came mixed truck after truck, and well, I realized that the huge amount of natural resources and money that we were literally burying into the ground. So we, as a company, FCC Enviro, we manage waste, we manage landfills, but at the end of the day, the waste doesn't belong to us. The waste belongs to the public administrations, municipalities, and ultimately the citizens. So we can comply with all the regulations as a company, but without the collaboration between the regulators, the public administrations, the municipalities, and the citizens and the companies, I understood that it was going to be impossible to comply with the EU targets, the recycling EU targets, and the acceptable recycling rates.
Thank you very much. Handing over to Cecilia.
Yeah, in my case, I will not talk about waste. I will talk about resources.
Can you?
Hello?
Yeah, just very close.
Okay. So in terms of awareness, I think it started when I was a child. So I don't know how many of you remember, but in the late 80s, the vision of the future and cities of the future were very dark, very polluted water, not enough food. And there was a change, because when we think and when we reimagine cities, and I mean, today we're talking about how to rethink the way that we manage resources. And when we think about the future, we think as a very clear path. That's what we need to do, right? We need to regreen our cities. We need to create awareness. We don't want this image of these concrete jungles that we see. That's not how we have livable cities. It's not, and water is being used in many, many areas that people sometimes don't recognize. And clean water is being used for this. And when we think about the changes that we can make in terms of the cities for the future, it does require to rethink the way that we use water and that we manage water in a smarter way.
Thank you very much. Moving on to you, Grigoris. What was your moment? And I know it has a lot to do with your city.
Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm very glad being here. Being involved with the city affairs for the last 35 years it's almost a whole life. But when you sit on the chair that you have to make decisions on a serious, important issues like managing a city, then the game changes. The ball is rolling. We are very lucky that we're living in a very beautiful city, next to the sea, next to the green hills, with a lot of infrastructure. It's urban. It's an urban city with high-end tourism, but it has also all the problems associated with a city that has to manage on the peak times more than 150,000 people on a weekend. So this is where the whole task, the whole mission started. We wanted from the first day, this is our third term actually, to minimize the footprint of our city, and we've got engaged very seriously on changes that has to do with waste management, has to do with power production and consumption, has to do with mobility and micromobility, in order to create the city that will take care not only for the resources, as well said before, but will take care of the social responsibility having to deal with the next generation, because we have borrowed the cities from our children and our grandchildren, and we have never forget about it.
Thanks a lot. So now we know why our panelists are so passionate about this topic and where it's coming from. So let's deep dive now into solutions, because we really want to have something tangible, right? What we can do next in our cities to improve it. And I would like to get back to you, Janine. You said something important about stakeholders. I've heard it also multiple times, also within the other conversations right now. So when it comes to behavioral change, right? And that's something that you have also like on your mission in regards to waste management. So what have you seen that really gets citizens and businesses to really do this change and have this behavioral change?
Thanks, Laura. It's a very important question. I think you can build the infrastructure, but if your stakeholders and your communities don't actually know how to use the infrastructure or to use the resources, that's part of the problem. So what we've seen at SST is that our stakeholders need three things to be able to actually fully realize the role that they play in the value chain and fully embrace it. So they need training, which sounds really silly and really easy, but you need to make it in a language that they understand, and you need to give them resources that they can access, and it needs to be in a way that they can make sense of it, and there needs to be ongoing support. So we've seen that. We've made training available in languages that fit our communities. Most of our resources are available in Portuguese and French and English and Afrikaans and other South African languages. We make it accessible through the platforms that we've created. So there's digital access, there's printed resources in more rural communities. And then we also offer ongoing support. So it's those three things, I believe. And each stakeholder needs to understand where they sit in the value chain. They need to understand what their specific role is, and then they need to embrace it. I truly believe that if every stakeholder in the value chain was able to fully embrace their role, we would end up with clean cities.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, what we have seen also a lot is like, I mean, in the end, implementation is local, right? I mean, we can talk a lot about like on a global level and everything, but it's really local. So I would like to give the next question to Grigoris. I mean, when you look at your city, I mean, it's never an easy topic, right? To go like from the idea to the strategy, and then implementation is like a really tough topic usually. So what does it mean to you, local implementation?
It is very difficult. It's more difficult than flying a plane, actually. But what is it? The case is that generally the public sector in city level or in regional level, in governmental level, is very bureaucratic and is very slow. This is one main big problem. Legislation that is overlapping the next legislation, changing when governments or administrations change. And then we go to a very basic element of success, which is the public opinion, the people that will be involved on those changes. If the people are not part of the changes, then no change will happen. It will be a form of a change that will last for a couple of semesters or years, and then we just have to forget about it. So what we have to do is we have to mobilize the people and make them share our mission and our vision. And our mission and vision has to do with changing things. If things had to remain as they were before, then this means that they were effective and efficient. They are not effective, they are not efficient. The earth, poor earth, is still being polluted anywhere, everywhere. We have climate change, we have temperature rising, and we have this big call that we need to use all the available resources, starting from people, from the society, meaning for funds, which is the economy, in order to protect the environment. This is the theory of the triple bottom line. It's a very simple, it's the predecessor of the SDGs, and has to do with a very simple equation that has to balance the people, the economy, and the environment, and to act and react only on the areas that those three big pillars are meeting. So this is the means. We don't have to make it very complex. We don't have to make it very detailed. We must mobilize the people, and we have to make them share our vision and use our minds and technology not as a target, but as a mean in order to succeed and fulfill our mission, which is very important, very essential, and very much owned, as I said before, to the next generations.
Thank you. So we heard about citizens, we heard about politics, what you can do on a local base. And you also just mentioned like technology is also a vehicle, right? So also private sector has a responsibility in here. And the question also to you, Eva, would be, yes, it's local, but then still we want to also help cities to scale, right? We don't want to stay with pilots. We don't want to say that it's just in a few cities. We would love to see it in the whole entire world, right? That we continue with this topic. So what do you think in the end enables also, or what kind of innovations enables and also in the end the cities to do so?
Okay. Well, the private sector acts as a catalyst for circular cities. Innovating, building infrastructure, and creating new business models that helps to recover materials or waste minimization. But it's true that at least my sector, that is the waste management sector, is a very mature sector. For example, we've been working in Barcelona. We provided our first contract in the city of Barcelona in 1911. So it's a very mature sector. But there is something that is being very disrupted in this sector, and I think in all the sectors, that is digitalization and artificial intelligence. We already have implemented solutions related to the use of data, digitalization, and artificial intelligence in our contracts. For example, we have an intelligent management systems for platform developed in-house, and we use it to monitor all the services that we provide to the cities. The clients can access to the information in real time. We optimize our routes. We can check the fill level of the containers in real time, the fill of bins, etc. So that's one of the innovations that we are having in the private sector. We also use artificial intelligence, for example, in checking the improper waste that we can have in the hopper of the trucks in real time also, or to check the surroundings of the containers to maintain the cleanliness of the streets, and to check that there is no incidents in the collection system. Apart from that, in FCC, we invest a lot in research and development projects in order to recover materials from the waste that otherwise would end up in landfills. So we are obtaining recycled plastics, new or alternative fuels. We have a very interesting research and development project related to textile. We are obtaining fibers from the textile to reuse them in the textile sector. That is really interesting. And also, one of other key priorities is the fleet. Our vehicles and machinery. We have more than 20,000 vehicles on the streets every day. And, our objective is to have the most sustainable fleet in the sector in the world. And, for example, we were the first company in having the fully electric waste collection truck. And last year, we presented here in this Congress the hydrogen power collection truck. So, but this wouldn't be a success without the cooperation with the public administrations and our clients, that at the end is the municipalities.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Yes, indeed. I mean, in the end, it's always like about working together, right? Creating an ecosystem and everyone like pulling into the right direction together. And I find it very fascinating how it's such a topic like waste, you know, it's like shine every one of you, like why we talk about it. So let me get to you, Cecilia. So cities are starting using the data more and more, and we only just heard also AI, we heard technology, digitization, and there's a lot of data behind. It's still a long way to go, right? But still, some cities are already starting with it, also connecting data from waste and water and so on. So what have you seen best like to make it work? But also examples to see like how we can break these silos also between these topics.
So I think an important aspect that was mentioned already is to make really things be successful, we need to see that a city is an ecosystem of ecosystems, and it's a live system. So having interconnected systems is not only a technical issue, but it is strategic if you want to have a circular economy, if you want your city to, if you want to plan in terms of circularity. And the water is a very powerful example on how it is really core to the circularity of a city. For example, reused water. So we were talking about waste, I mean, cleaning cities. We can talk about flood, for example, mitigation. All of this needs to be supplied by water, but you don't need to use potable water. You can actually reduce that aspect, maintain, guarantee the resilience of your, or sustainability of your water supply if you can actually use reclaimed water from wastewater treatment plants to do cooling systems, for example, for irrigation of your city, for cleaning the streets of your city. There are so many aspects that go into the water that people don't even think about this. And the way that we support this is through solutions like digital twins or unified data platforms where people can interconnect and connect to other departments where usually they're very siloed. So if you can actually share information between one or the other, I mean, think about energy. If you reduce leakage, then you don't need so much energy to actually supply the system because you're reducing the quantity of water that you're bringing. On the other aspect, you're reducing traffic problems because you're actually investing on a stormwater system that is green and blue, and so you can actually reduce the consequence or the impact of flooding, and with that, improve mobility of the city. So there are so many aspects that come into the water that you usually do not think, and by having platforms that can bring all the system that usually is invisible to a visible state where people can plan and they can act together. Because as you were saying before, you know, there's a change between having a vision and going to action. And so if you can have these tools to support you, then you can make your vision visible.
Yeah, thank you very much. So staying with digital twins for a second, right, and analytics and all these kind of topics, so they definitely would help, or I mean, you can elaborate on it, like helping cities to be more resource efficient. How can we make sure that these kind of tools also help smaller cities, less wealthy cities, right? Because they are also often left out. We talked about it, right? Everything costs something. So
Yeah, I actually think that's a false problem, because usually when we talk about digital solutions, we always say start small. So if you have a smaller city, you should actually embrace easier. But if we're talking about costs, if we are based on circularity principles, I mean, the gains, so I don't think it's a cost. Maybe it's an investment that you do because the gains are so many. And I usually say there is a cost for not doing anything. People just don't really put the calculations up, because if I continue as I am, you know, will my infrastructure be resilient in the future? But again, I have also another answer for that, which is I think in the past, digital solutions, they were very hard to implement. It would require a lot of development. It was not like available for everyone. And this is why we actually try to democratize the use of digital twins by having solutions that are very open and they're interoperable. And so it does not require people to have a lot of costs in terms of hardware requirements or costs on hardware. You can have solutions that are cloud-based, and that makes it much easier in terms of the adoption, but also how you use it as well.
Let me get to you, Jenny, when it comes to Africa, right? I mean, we're just talking about small cities is one thing, but not so wealthy cities, or like they are still maybe at another point, just like bringing it, like putting up like basic systems, yeah. And now we are talking about digital twins, AI, technology, and all this kind of stuff. So how do you see it from the perspective of Africa?
Thanks, Laura. Yeah, it's an interesting question because, I mean, we don't have smart cities in Africa. And in fact, in South Africa, we have over 280 municipalities. One of them is bankable. One of them. That's the city of Cape Town. The rest, no one will even lend a cent to because their audits do not come back clean. So, you know, when you're dealing with issues of corruption and you're dealing with just putting food on the table on a daily basis, digital twins is not, it's not a word that is used in South Africa. And it's an expensive solution. And I do think oftentimes we assume that what's working in the global north is going to automatically be able to be used and usable in the global south. And I think that's a misnomer and it's a mistake. And we do need to think about how we take those kind of solutions and how we adapt it to the local context. So we've got these regional and global commitments, but they have to make sense in the communities. They've got to make sense in the local context. So yes, I think we should have these conversations, but we also should understand that not all of these conversations are accessible to everyone that's sitting around the table.
Thank you. I would love to introduce also like the topic that we had also when we talked the first time, right? And I was quite impressed what you have done already in your city. And I know that you have also implemented an innovative waste management. Can you tell us more about it? Like, you know, to reconnect it also, like what can we do locally?
Yes, definitely. I mean, the motto of the local governance is, you know, we think global, we act local, and this is something very, very essential. Unfortunately, in our country, we have not managed to make a huge progress on waste management. This is why we have more than 81% of the waste produced being landfilled, and you know, we're not very proud of it. We're trying to change this reality in our municipality. So we have, the last 6-7 years, implemented a series of grand-scale project, not pilot project, involving people, involving technology, and we have managed to remove from landfill more than 50% of the waste being produced in our city, and aiming by the end of 2026 to have a 70%. This means to be close to the European standards. In order to do this, we do the very basics that we all know, but we don't do, which is reduce, reuse, recycle. Sort at the source. Collect the organics. Use the organics. Change form of the waste to another usable form. Create energy out of the waste. Don't be afraid of it. The logic of NIMBY, not in my backyard, which exists throughout the world for the last 30, 40 years, is obsolete. It's something that has been tested for 40 years, 50 years, and now we know what is good and what is bad. And definitely, any sort of waste to energy conversion is much better than landfilling and jeopardizing the future of the planet, the future of the society. So what we do is we try to gain money, to opt money out of the current operation. We established with private sector, very valuable collaborators that we have, systems that optimize our routing of truck collection, and this gave us a reduction of 30% on our cost. So every bin, approximately 2,000 bins so far out of the 5,500, they do have sensors, volumetric and weight sensors, that they give us the position, the volume, the weight, the temperature, the smell, you just name it, of each bin. And this thing optimizes the route of the garbage, the truck collectors every night. So no route is the same. Every route is unique, and each truck driver every night gets his iPad and know which bins that have a fill level more than 60% will be empty. This way we save money, kilometers, time hours of manpower. And all this is providing us money in order to invest again in the waste management in our city by creating organics and gardening to first-class fertilizer that we use in our city and we sell in the market to close the loop of the circular economy. We use a lot of waste to be transformed to energy by drying it out and making a mechanical selection. So what we do, we use all available sources and resources in order to minimize the volume and to minimize the damage, because every waste management process has a danger level and a damage level, and we have to know this. We don't have to hide it under the carpet. So for me, it's very essential for all of us to have to educate the people, to make them co-responsible with us, to educate our children. Actually, my children are educating me on waste management because they are a completely different generation with completely different inputs. By changing the city, the neighborhood actually first, then the city, then the region, then the country, then we can change the world. The change is us, is not the others. We don't have to expect the others to make what we are obliged to do. The change starts to us and ends to the globe. And this is very essential, and we have to be very much aware of it.
So we heard now, about citizens, that they have to be on board, politicians that have to be on board, private sector that has to be on board. So private sector is like one of the part where, let's say, the innovation is created very often, right? So how can we convince more from the private sector to be on board when it gets to sustainability? So can you maybe elaborate on it, maybe find some good reasons why more get on board?
So you mean that sustainability?
Yes, yes, because I know it's like your part, right, in your company, and you're taking care of it, and what the competitive advantage there is for companies to do so.
Okay, wow, that's a very good question.
And the last one.
Well, at the moment we have a hot debate in the European Union between competitiveness and sustainability. I think for the first time in history, the regulation has moved ahead from the general mindset and the society, at least in the European Union. So the European Union tried to win the race for sustainability all over the world, and in the meantime, maybe they push very hard the companies. And in these years, we have realized that maybe not all the companies were prepared for that huge amount of requirements in terms of the time frame that we have to adapt our business model or to adapt our information systems for doing the reporting according to the European regulations. But apart from that debate, in my opinion, I truly believe that if a company doesn't embed sustainability in their business model, they are out of the market. And if they are not out of the market right now, they're going to be in the near future. I think it's the way to at least in the waste management sector, in the urban services sector, sustainability is not regulatory requirement or a branding exercise anymore, and it has a lot of advantages. For example, the public administrations that at the end they are our main clients. They include sustainable requirements in their procurement processes, and if we as suppliers we include environmental and social initiatives and innovations, we will probably get a higher score in tenders. So that's one of the biggest advantages for us. But also, it enhances efficiency, because if we reduce our consumptions of energy, water, or we improve our waste management or our waste generation, we are going to lower our cost and improve our margins. And at the end, I think sustainability builds trust, not only with the clients, but with the rest of stakeholders that we have, like the employees, the investors, the citizens, the society in general. If you do the honest exercise of reporting what you're doing in a transparent way without promising that world is going to be green in 10 years, I think you build trust and you are a reliable company for all your stakeholders.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Before we get to the last question, we would like to open up to the audience if there are any questions. Do you have any questions to the panelists, or also any comments to waste? Yeah, anything that could be relevant? Nothing? Solutions in your cities? Yeah, you go.
Hi, my name is Petra. I'm from EY. My question is about the funding, because you mentioned about circularity and the fact that you can make gains which you can then reinvest into future projects. But what is the trigger for the funding? Do you get private funding, public funding? How do you get started with your initiatives, for example, for you in Greece?
It's a very nice question. Funding is always missing. You have to dig in order to find smart things, innovative things to secure funding. Actually, I'm very worried about funding, not only in regional or in national level, but also in European level, because we do see lately a shift of a lot of funds from the European budget for other security and safety things that we have, challenges that we have to face. We see a lot of funds moving from environmental funding towards the member states, private sector, or any other organization that will be missing. I think the environmental issues and climate control issues has to remain high priority of each and every one society. If we move away from this target, then the funding that exists now will also vanish, and then we will hit a dead end. For us, it's very, very important to mobilize the communities, the local governments, the national governments, the European level, and the globe, with all those global initiatives that we have, in order to secure and drive funding to positive and high-scale projects that deal with what is missing. And what is missing is our planet itself. And this is what will be missing in the coming decades if we don't act as we do now, and if we don't continue acting as we do now.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments to this topic? All right. Then I would say we get to the last question, and I would love that each of the panelists would answer this question. I had a little challenge for my panelists, because I asked them if every city in the world did one thing differently tomorrow to become more resource smart at no or low cost, this is a challenge, what should that be?
I can start. So I would say start treating your stormwater as a resource or not as a waste. So, make use of your water, storage your water, and reuse it as much as you can. Be smarter in the way that you use water.
Okay, well, we were discussing this before, but I'm a very optimistic person and positive, but I don't think there is a real change without a cost, economic or social. I'm sorry. But if I had to choose something to change the way we manage the cities, is sustainable education. We can start from our children at the earliest stage, teaching them the importance of their choices, the importance of consuming less, the importance of recycling and separating waste at home. And I think in one generation that would be transformative, and we will get the real change maybe in a few years.
Everything we do in Africa is no cost or low cost. That's the reality. And I think all of us have resources. Through partnership and collaboration, those resources can go so much further. So in my opinion, I believe that through strategic partnership, through strategic collaboration, your own resources can then see economies of scale added to it. And I do believe that can be at a no cost or a low cost. We need to be smart about the resources we have. We need to be smart about the collaborations we forge. And then through that, we can see all of our resources go so much further.
Thank you. Grigoris, last words.
Okay, first of all, I forgot to mention that I'm very happy that I'm sitting here alone with 4 nice ladies. I'm very lucky. Secondly, concerning your question, and this is why Eva is a compliance officer. Why we need compliance? We need compliance. Because we are over regulated and over legislated. This is why we need compliance. We have compliance in aviation and aerospace industry because we have legislation, directives, regulations, manuals, whatever. We make our life more complex this way. So if I had the chance to do something different and just press a button and change things, what I would do, I would let the small communities to be responsible for their task. Less legislation. Of course, the core legislation will be held on a national or international level, but then we don't, I mean, if I am a great pilot, which indeed I am, and you tie my eyes and you just put a string on my hands, do you think that the next mountain is away from our flight path? No, it is not. And this is what we do. We are tying down the private sector, the public sector, the municipalities with a lot of legislation. We need compliance officers in all levels, and we becoming bureaucratic and very slow to act and proact organizations. And I think this should be changed.
What a great panel. I loved the conversation, and we had so many different and unique perspectives on it. And thanks you very much for sharing. And I must say, I don't know what you took now away, but I can shortly tell you what I took away is that it all starts with the young generation. Yeah, we have training for our citizens. We have training for the kids. Yeah, that then also start then teaching us what is right and what is wrong, let's say, and what to do, which is amazing. And then moving on to local responsibility, what you just mentioned, like less legislation, less bureaucracy, and really like work on the topics, as well as like what you just mentioned, right? It was a stormwater, yeah? Let's not see it as a waste. And also we had this conversation before when we talked about plastic bottles versus glass bottles, yeah, but if you do reuse everything, then it's a different story, right? And we can also use plastic, or what you mentioned with the textiles, yeah, everything is like reusable. So you gave so many solutions to problems. I'm very thankful for that, and I hope the audience as well. So please join me in thanking the panelists for the great conversation.